What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 10:51 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from South Korea and also from Finland. So apparently some kind of a fiber optic cable in Finland was cut last night, and this fiber optic cable connects Finland to Sweden. And the Finnish and Swedish governments are both saying that the fiber optic cable was cut in two areas. This fiber optic cable was owned by the company Global Connect, and apparently this is one of the newer fiber optic companies in Northern Europe. It first started laying down fiber optic cables in February of 2023. And this company is building multiple fiber optic networks across Northern Europe. So this is very suspicious, guys. Very likely that this was some kind of a Russian sleeper cell that cut these fiber optic cables. And in South Korea, President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law. He did this after the opposition attempted to organize impeachment proceedings against him. He said, quote, "Anti-state forces are plundering our people's freedom and happiness. I will eradicate them and normalize the country as soon as possible." Apparently, the entrance to the parliament in South Korea is now blocked. Currently, neither citizens nor members of parliament are allowed there. And a top South Korean military commander said that all South Korean media houses are now under military censorship. Wow. So this is crazy, guys. Basically, what happened was some North Korean forces inside of the South Korean government were trying to impeach the president and overthrow the government. So the South Korean president is now issuing martial law orders across the country. Very, very strange. And late last night and early this morning, Ukraine was placed under a nationwide air raid alert again. And the last time this happened was when Russia launched the Icbm, the Oreshnik missile, at Ukraine. So around 3 or 4 a.m. Eastern time, all of Ukraine went under an air raid alert. And I thought for sure that Russia was going to strike with an Icbm, and then nothing. The air raid was canceled. Nothing happened. But what's interesting is all day yesterday, there was a NATO AWACS plane patrolling the border of Poland and Ukraine. And it was patrolling the border there for 12 hours, and there were no air raids up at that time. So NATO must have had intelligence that Russia was planning another Oreshnik strike on Ukraine. So they scrambled that AWACS plane all day yesterday, and then they posted a nationwide air raid alert, but then they canceled it this morning. So something is brewing, guys. Okay, also there were a bunch of emergency action messages around the same time. There were about 15 to 20 nuclear attack options or emergency action messages that were broadcasted around the same time as when Ukraine went under this nationwide air raid alert. So something is going on. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know what Putin has planned, but he's definitely going to do another Icbm strike. He already said that he was going to do it. He said that he was going to potentially go after decision-making centers in Kyiv. He said that the Russian military is in the process of picking out targets, so it could happen any hour now, guys. Another strange thing that happened last night is some of these EAMs, these nuclear attack options, were communicating with the call sign Sigonella Global. And this is in reference to Sigonella in Italy. That's a U.S. military base. Normally, that base never uses the tag global. So basically what that means is that the Sigonella base became a global radio station for U.S. nuclear forces, and they were broadcasting these nuclear attack options from Sigonella globally, which is something they never do. Okay, Sigonella is usually just a theater level radio station strictly for European forces, okay? So that was pretty concerning, but it looks like something could happen any night now. And when it does, I will cover everything live. And right now we actually have a Cobra Ball. This is a missile detecting and tracking plane up in the air over Omaha, Nebraska. It just took off from Stratcom. And this plane can track the trajectories of ballistic missiles. So very interesting that this thing would suddenly go up in the air. And this morning, Ukraine was lit up in air raid alerts nationwide. This is the same thing that happened when Russia launched the first ICBM strike. We quickly scrambled a Cobra Ball and a nuke sniffer. We actually did move a nuke sniffer into the theater a couple of days ago from Diego Garcia. A nuke sniffer went to Qatar. And then from Qatar, it went somewhere towards Iraq, so it could have flown into Europe somewhere with its transponder turned off. So we have assets in the region to monitor for any kind of radiation that may be released from one of these Russian ICBM strikes. So get prepared, guys. I think Putin is going to nuke Ukraine very soon. And right now we have a U.S. Air Force high-priority reconnaissance mission going up to the Kola Peninsula, which is where Russia has their northern fleet. That's where they have 2/3 of their nuclear-armed subs. And this thing was aerially refueled over the North Sea, so that means it's going to be going on a long mission all the way up to the Russian Arctic to patrol that northern fleet base to see what their force posture is like, okay? And Russia appears to be evacuating naval assets from their port in Syria, and this is a strategic military base for Russia. It's a warm water port that gives them access to the Mediterranean, and now they're evacuating it because of the Syrian rebels supported by the U.S. and Western intelligence that are on the verge of overthrowing Assad. On December 2nd, 2024, the Russian auxiliary ship Yelnya left Tartus with reports of 2 frigates, an auxiliary, and a submarine also departing. So that's 5 ships, guys, leaving from this base or port in Syria, Russian ships. Tartus, a key Russian naval base since 1971, was expanded during the Syrian civil war and after the 2022 Ukraine invasion to deter NATO and support Black Sea operations. And the Russian military contingent fled Hama in Syria and has evacuated to the Khmeimim Air Base. This was last night. And the Khmeimim Air Base is the main Russian air base in Syria. So they evacuated out of Hama, which is under the control now of the Syrian rebels. And we're hearing of the first armed clashes in Damascus. The Russian military and diplomats have urgently begun to flee the capital of Syria, Damascus. So very concerning. And the Russians have also fled the military base in the city of Khan Sheikhoun, leaving behind a significant arsenal of weapons and equipment. And last night, fighting was reported on the outskirts of Deir ez-Zor in eastern Syria. This is an area that has a lot of natural gas and oil fields, and this fighting is happening between the Syrian rebels backed by the U.S. and Iranian-backed militants that are trying to cross into Syria from Iraq. Now, a couple days ago, the U.S. actually conducted airstrikes on these Iranian-backed militants. So the situation in Syria is very, very serious. And Reuters is reporting that NATO will not issue membership to Ukraine in the upcoming meeting, and Ukraine won't accept security guarantees substituting NATO membership, according to the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry. Having the bitter experience of the Budapest Memorandum behind us, we will not settle for any alternatives, surrogates, or substitutes for NATO, the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry said. And NATO's new Secretary General warned Donald Trump that the U.S. would face a dire threat from China, Iran, and North Korea if Ukraine is pushed to sign a peace deal on terms that are favorable to Moscow. In an interview with the Financial Times, Mark Rutte said deepening ties between U.S. adversaries endangered America as he made a pitch to the president-elect to stick with NATO and continue to support Ukraine. Mark Rutte noted the risks from Russia supplying missile technology to North Korea and cash to Iran. In an apparent reference to Taiwan, he said that Chinese President Xi Jinping might get thoughts about something else in the future if there is not a good deal for Ukraine. We cannot have a situation where we have Kim Jong-un and the Russian leader and Xi Jinping and Iran high-fiving because we came to a deal which is not good for Ukraine, because long-term that will be a dire security threat not only to Europe but also the U.S., Rutte told the Financial Times. Very interesting. And the Ukrainian armed forces have been ordered to hold the occupied territories in the Kursk region of Russia until Trump's inauguration day. This is being reported by BBC News. And the New York Times is reporting that the U.S. will provide Ukraine with 3 different types of remote mining systems, including anti-personnel mines. And Norway is going to be sending 100 soldiers, NASAMS air defense systems, and F-35 fighter jets to Poland. Apparently, the Rzeszów International Airport, that's the airport in southeastern Poland where all the NATO equipment flows into Ukraine, will be under protection from various NATO forces, including Norway now. And the protection will take place starting December, so this month. Germany is also sending another Patriot battery and Patriot missiles to Poland as well. And the World Health Organization epidemiologist Dr. Maria van Kerkhove, you may remember her from COVID, has warned of the H5N1 threat, that's the bird flu, calling for urgent global surveillance of animals, including wild birds and poultry. And here we have some U.S. military VIPs that went to Ireland and the UK late last night. One left NORAD or Cheyenne Mountain or Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs. Very, very important base, very secretive. There's a doomsday bunker there. That's where NORAD is located. So one VIP leaving from there going to Ireland, and then one VIP leaving D.C. and going to the UK. So that is pretty unusual and definitely a sign that something is brewing. And then here's that NATO AWACS plane that was looping along the border of Poland and Ukraine all day yesterday, and there were no missile threats at that time when it was looping. So they must have had intelligence that Russia was getting ready to strike with the Oreshnik again. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back later on tonight with another update, and I will be in the live stream later as well. Make sure you follow me on Telegram and Twitter. I post all my updates over there. So if you follow me over there, you'll never miss an update. Sometimes YouTube doesn't send out notifications. The links to my Telegram and Twitter are in the description below this video. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.